Hey everybody, I am Brian Hogbin, the owner of Mission 35 Mortgages, and I am a
Mortgage Master. And I'm Tobias Smulders with Remax Escarpment, and I am your
amazing agent. Yes, he is. We're here with the Pig Podcast, episode number 5, the Platinum Investment Group. Woo! And we want to tell you, what is the goal of the Pig Podcast, right?
Yeah.
Glass, what's the goal of the Pig Podcast?
Yeah.
Really, it's to elevate your wealth through real estate investment.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah. Eliminate all the fears and make it happen for you.
Totally. You know what? And I think why me and Tobias are so passionate about it is because it's changed our lives.
Absolutely.
Right? You know? Not only gotten us really fucking cool t-shirts.
Awesome shirts. Here we go.
Right?
The debut.
Yeah. Thanks for this, buddy. That's so cool. Surprised me. What a guy. Got me a t-shirt. What a guy.
Yes.
So, but yeah, you know what? Real estate investment, we want to educate you guys on how to overcome your fears and make sure you're buying real estate because it is the quickest way that both of us know how to build your wealth. So,
yeah.
What are we going to talk about today?
Today we have up legal versus non-legal rental units. That falls under, duplexes, in-law suites, granny suites, and all the different language realtors use to advertise that. But it comes down to, does the city allow it or do they not?
Good question.
And if they don't, should you buy it? Does it make sense?
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, very true. We get this a lot in the financing as well too, because there's different rules and regulations around financing in-law suites, legal and non-legal. So why don't we start out and just sort of define for people, what does legal and non-legal really mean? What is that?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to get arrested if you have an illegal unit? You going to get thrown in the paddy wagon, or what's going to go on?
No, yeah. So the easiest way to know is through your lawyer. They can pull, in our area, a zoning verification. And zoning verification will say yes or no.
Yep.
Or realtors have access to some stuff online that'll help determine that too. So you can always reach out and ask me, or I don't know if you guys have a way to check.
Yeah, we can check too. We've got some alleys we can check out and see, right? So, and I think too, when it comes down to the financing part of it, it's what they're looking to see is, does the zoning match with its use?
Yes.
Right? So if we say like a duplex, for example, if you have a legal duplex, that means that where that house stands, you can legally have 2 units in that one house.
Totally.
Right? Where the illegal use comes up a lot, and we see this a lot in our market area in Hamilton. So we got these big old Victorian homes with 30,000 apartments in each one, right? Chopped up.
Yes.
Is where you have a single family home. This is where I see it the most anyways, and you probably do too. You have a single family home where the city recognizes the zoning as a single family home, but its use may have 2 units, 3 units, 5 units.
Yeah. And
10.
Yeah, 10. Yeah. And then also these in-law suites. Old bungalows, Stony Creek, Hamilton Mountain, where they had the summer kitchen, and then some savvy fella came by.
Hey, let me ask you, what's the difference between a granny suite and an in-law suite? Is it a granny? Sorry. Always want to know. We'll put that in the
granny in the basement. There we go.
It's a granny suite.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Anyways.
I think that's language people usually use for illegal. Like if you see that terminology, you can almost 99% of the time bank that it's illegal, and the person wants to highlight that there is something down there that you should look at, because a lot of people will rent that out.
I think that's a great point though, because that's a really good, when you guys are surfing around on realtor.ca but you really should be surfing around with an amazing agent.
There you go.
But if it says in-law suite, that is a telltale sign that it's illegal.
Totally.
And not 100% of the time, but it will be, would you say it will be advertised big stars, legal duplex, right?
Totally.
Because
first thing we do when we get a legal duplex that has paperwork, that's first line in every ad, legal duplex, because that highlights so many things, along with being a selling, factor or perk that we're going to say adds value to the property when you go to resell it.
So would you say, just on that note, legal equals more money? Legal is worth money.
100%.
Why do you say that? I agree. And just for everybody to see.
2 things I think are the shining things in that is, one, the headache freeness of it, where you don't have to worry, is something going to happen? Is the city going to get called? Do I have problems?
You're not going to get that. Excuse me, Tobias. Excuse me, you got an illegal unit, right? Yes. And what people, for those in-law suites and granny suites, that's why some finance companies won't finance them, is because if that Joe bylaw officer comes by and says you're operating an illegal unit, you have to shut it down and you lose that income.
And you lose that income. So that's a risk involved in having an illegal unit. So, if you don't have that risk, like anything, risk reward, you don't have that risk, it's going to cost you more money. So you're going to pay off less by having a legal unit. But also, I think the other factor is, you mentioned already, but your qualifications for that property and any subsequent properties. Hypothetically, if you're an ambitious young guy like Brian or myself and you want to continue to grow your portfolio to
world domination,
10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 1,000 units, you're going to need those rents to qualify with your lender so that you can qualify for more mortgages to attain more property. Unless you have a rich Uncle Sultan somewhere that's going to just give you $5 million.
Here you go. Right.
Or if you want to end up really heavy in the private space where they're going to lend more risky, but you're going to pay for it. So those, I think, are the two biggest factors to having legal units versus illegal, that are the benefits and which translate into a more expensive purchase price.
Yes. So essentially, legal worth more. What I will say on the financing side of it, when you have a legal duplex, like Tobias said, it opens you up to lots of lenders. Lots of lenders will use the income. When you have an illegal duplex, triplex, in-law, granny suite, there's still lenders that will use the income, but it does narrow the hole a little bit. Okay,
and do they cut that income? Do they discount it more heavily than?
So we just did a deal for a client with a scheduled bank where they actually used the rental income from an in-law suite. They were putting down 10% and they were able to use 50% of the in-law income.
Yes.
Okay. So there's still some lenders that will use a portion of that income to get you qualified, right? But they're going to look at the whole totality of the deal. The more, a good rule of thumb is the more exceptions that you're asking for when you get your financing, the harder it is to get what you're looking for.
Yes.
Right? If everything's perfect and you're asking for an exception on that in-law income, you might be able to get it. But if you're the exception and everything else is the exception and you want that third exception, it's like, oh my God, buddy, it's going to be hard.
Now, that covers the legal aspect of it. So for non-legal, we'll jump into a little bit. Do you buy it? And does it make sense?
Have you owned non-legal?
I have. Yeah, it's happened.
I know. So have I.
It's something to consider too, because in many ways, if you have an in-law suite, legitimate in-law suite, and you have your cousin lives there, or your brother, which my brother lived at my place for a long time, the bylaw is not as harsh when it's family or known accompaniments, and there's ways for you to make it's an in-law suite that have their own space, but you're not 100% segregated. You're 99.9% segregated. There's one door with no lock.
Yeah, I've had that as well too, where basically I had, it was 2 units.
Yes.
1 lease agreement.
Yes.
I had 1 lease agreement and I had the brother and his family live upstairs.
Yes.
And then his sister lived in the basement.
Yeah.
So all one family, 2 units, single family home. So you could call it an illegal duplex, but to your point, 1 lease agreement. But I was able to maximize the rents for both units with 1 lease agreement.
And in that case, you ended up with more than you would rent a single family house.
Totally.
And I would say that
they got to pay all their own utilities because they're all family.
Utilities, And I would say that we've seen a growing request for that from tenants too.
Yeah.
2 family members, like a mom and a daughter with their own separate stuff and families and kids, and they want to live together or close by, because that duplex might say, or we'll say in-law suite, might be $3,500 market rent if it was a legal duplex, where as a single family might be around $2,000. So from the investor standpoint, you want to maximize that rent. You might still get $3,200 a month or $3,500 a month in rent. Those people are individually going to pay less than they would if they rented those places.
Yeah.
So it's a benefit to the tenant, a benefit to the landlord still. Yeah. And it's not a bad product. I'm not demonizing it, but we're just saying watch out in what you can do with it.
Well, and I think too, with changing family dynamics, like you said, it is happening more. Listen, as much as I hate to say it, it is harder to get a mortgage today than it was
totally
a year ago, right? We got shitty mortgage rules, which have come into play. We're still moving forward, but it is harder, right? And changing family dynamics are saying, hey, listen, I can't buy a house. You can't buy a house. Why don't four of us get together and buy a house, and maybe we can, rent out, or maybe family dynamics are shifting where, the single mom, single dad, or someone needs to live with a brother or an uncle, and people are consolidating.
Yes.
And you can take advantage of this situation where you shouldn't be afraid of getting the illegal unit, like Tobias said. Like, know your risks.
Yes.
But you can still maximize, like you've probably seen, like I have, legal duplexes that are used as triplexes.
Totally.
And that could be an opportunity where you have the second and third floor where you say, hey, my sister's looking for a spot and I'm looking for a spot, and you maximize those two units.
Yes.
But on one lease agreement.
Yes.
Would you say that's a good?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And the other thing with illegal sort of rental units is there's this pretty significant cost savings when you buy that kind of place now. I think to put on an exact number on is very hard, but I bet it's $75,000 to $100,000. If not,
shit, I know. Yeah, because I remember, like, I know we were talking about earlier. You've had illegal units. I had illegal units as well too. And to be honest, the bylaw never came.
Yes.
Right. So since I had them,
I had the bylaw come. We can talk about that after.
That's another one. Yeah. Okay. We want to talk about them.
Yeah.
They're great people.
They're good guys. They're just doing their job just like everyone else is. But we've had them, and it's been still beneficial. And I think the number one thing I tell clients when they ask, well, it's not legal, what should I do? I always tell them, I say, you make your personal decision on what makes sense, and don't pay legal prices for an illegal unit. So if you have, we'll just stick with duplexes as we're going, but with anything, if there's 2 units, you don't just buy it because it's 2 units. If it's an illegal rental, it's worth the same as a single family house plus whatever you feel that extra unit is worth. You should not pay duplex pricing for an illegal unit, because that's not right. That's not right market value.
No, and I agree too. And I think I'm always putting my conservative hat on.
Yeah.
If you're buying an illegal unit, make sure you price out your numbers, your cash flow, as if it's single family, because you know what? You could close on it April 1st, April Fools, and then April 2nd, you could have bylaw at your door, and you could lose that income that you thought. And if it's not a positive cash flowing property with the 2 illegal units, what are you going to do? Right? Because that could happen day 2. So just, again, know your risk getting involved in it, and have a backup plan if you're getting an illegal unit, because it could happen at any time, or it could not happen.
It could never happen. Yeah. And if you have an illegal unit and you're banking on that rent, and it's your first thing and you're leveraged to the max, like you could be, to get the loans, and that you get shut down, that could be detrimental. You want to make sure with one rent you could still be in a good position and be comfortable, because you don't want to put yourself in a bad spot.
People might be wondering, how do bylaw officers find out?
Right now, per complaint. So you want to also make sure that any property you have, you do a good job of making sure you keep the neighbors happy, and you maintain your property. And
who's going to complain? Like, is it going to be
the neighbor for parking? If your tenant's parking where that neighbor normally parks, or if your property is looking overgrown, or if your tenants are partying. Those are like 3 major complaints.
And the fourth one I say is the actual tenant.
The tenant, yeah.
Because if you get a tenant and there are professional tenants out there who know how to work the system, and we've encountered this where you have a tenant that says, Tobias, I know this is an illegal unit, and if you don't, bring $10,000 in unmarked bills by next Tuesday, I'm calling bylaw, right?
Yes, yeah.
So it's again a risk that can come up from neighbors, the existing tenant. So I wouldn't, when you're renting to someone, if someone asks you if it's legal or illegal, well, actually, do you know this? If the tenant asks you if it's legal or illegal, do you have to disclose it?
I don't know. I would say we want to avoid anybody that has questions like that, because as soon as they go into that, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and we will find out about that. Email me. I'm going to find out, because
that's
it's
a good question.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll find out.
And so I would say those are the major things. Don't cause trouble for the neighbors, and keep your property nice, which is a benefit to you anyway. You want your property to look good. It's an investment. You want it to look the best, so it's going to be the best investment. That's the best part about real estate investing, is you have some control over how it performs.
Totally.
Like,
that's why you want to
get a stock, it goes up or down based on whatever happens. your house could go up or down based on what you do to it. So if you make it look run down and you're an absentee landlord and you take, slumlord to heart, your investment's going to drop. But if you take great care of your property, when somebody looks at it, it's going to be an increasing asset. So that's an important piece.
Totally. And I think, when it comes down to legal and illegal, if you're a first-time investor and you're buying your very first property, and like Tobias said, I want to reinforce this just because I wouldn't take that risk on your first one, right? Yeah. Because if you're leveraged, okay, and you need every dollar, be honest with yourself when you're looking at it. That could be a deal breaker. It could get you out of real estate investment. It could be catastrophic for your first deal, okay? If you're with someone who says, a realtor that says, don't worry about it. It's illegal. I do this all the time.
Everybody does it. Don't worry about it. It's not true. You should consider it. And we'll say, then in that case, go with something that is more in the wheelhouse of comfort. So you get a single family. I would say pretty much any single family is legal to rent out.
Yeah, totally. I've never seen.
You can pay a lower cost, have still great rent, and still cash flow. Yeah. So don't jump into a duplex prematurely if you aren't comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I've seen people buy it as their first investment and have no trouble. And that's a personal decision based on your financial situation and how the property works.
One thing too, now we'll talk about really quick here because we're running out of time, is the application to rezone.
Yes.
So it is possible to buy, let's say, 2-family home that's considered a single family home, an illegal duplex, and ask for rezoning. Now, have you ever done one of those? I haven't done one.
I haven't gone through it, but I have an investor that's done a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they've been very successful in that because you can pick up, even if it's not a duplex, it's even better if if you have money to spend on your investment, say you're refining the house and you have a lot of money.
And money to hold it. It takes time.
It takes time.
Yeah.
You do the application for rezoning as well as all the construction required. This is the thing. If you get a single family house with an unfinished basement, you want to put an in-law suite and you have the right requirements, you can make a lot of money that way too. You pay for your rezone, you do your permits, and you take a single family and convert it to a duplex. That you can make a lot of money.
I've seen investors do it as well too. The application to rezone, I believe you're into a minimum of $1,500, right? For the city. I believe you're into it as well for probably anywhere from a minimum of 3 months all the way up to maybe a year, depending on how much back and forth you're going to have with the city and permits and making sure it can be done. I will say, to Tobias's point, there's flips where you go in with a paintbrush and a hammer, and then there's flips where you use your brain, right? Yeah. And I think I've seen clients make a lot of money, like you said, with, I call it almost like an intellectual flip.
Totally.
Right? Because you didn't really change, maybe you didn't change much structurally, but you went from a single family to a legal duplex, or a legal duplex to a legal triplex. And then that could be, could be $10,000 in paperwork and time, but could be $100,000 lift.
Yes.
Right?
And I think there's a growing demand for legal duplexes because there is just affordability piece to it. When you got a person that wants to buy a house and they don't quite qualify for what they want, if there's a legal duplex, they can get a mint living space, have that supplementary income, use it to qualify, be able to purchase a better house in a better area for their family, and still have a great tenant and provide affordable housing, because we have an affordable housing issue here.
Totally. You're totally right. And you know what? Last but not least, safety, right?
Yes.
The reason why, the city and bylaw, they're not just trying to be assholes and make our life hell, right? The reality is it's safety, right? Because a lot of the illegal units are shit. Like they're unsafe. If there's a fire, somebody's screwed, right? So,
and you never want that unconscious either.
No, it's true, sleep. Right? Like it's true. So I think that, and again, bring it up last because we're numbers and stuff, but like the reality is that when you have a legal unit, it's safe. Right? You got the entrance and egress. You got everything fire code compliant.
Soundproofing too. That's a big piece too. Yeah. So that, and then if you are going to be the one living upstairs, like it's not pure investment, it's peace of mind for yourself too.
Yeah, totally. So, you know what? Great chat. If anybody has any questions, reach out to Amazing Agent. Or
Mortgage Master.
Yes. And we'll help you out because we honestly, 100% from the bottom of our heart, want to see you guys win, have a wicked life, and invest in real estate. And that's the best way to do it. And you know what? Don't forget that the deal of the century comes along
every week. You just got to have your eyes open.
Beautiful. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Have a great day.